Very good morning, and thanks for clicking on to the Wednesday edition of Vogan's European Outlook. A little bit of a mismatch of a video today. Going to look at several different things. First and foremost, I want to look at the global sea surface temperature anomalies, and first thing that really stands out is how warm waters are in the Sea of Japan and extending across the North Pacific. That is an incredible anomaly, really off the scale warm here. And of course, we've seen some record-breaking heat in parts of Japan. We've also warmed waters around the British Isles quite significantly, of course, in the last week or so because of the hot temperatures, the settled conditions, and of course with that strong midsummer sun beaming down on the surrounding waters, we've seen a significant rise in temperature. We've also seen a very significant increase in jellyfish on beaches. I can only speak for Scotland. Several beaches in the north of Scotland that I've been to, I noticed they were just littered by jellyfish. So not the best, in fact, for swimming. But I'm guessing that may be the case in other parts of the UK as well. And it's all to do with the sea surface temperatures this summer so far. Very warm, of course, Baffin Straits and the northwest Atlantic here. And what we're kind of wanting to see as we go towards the autumn season is perhaps a little bit more warmth up here across the far north of the Atlantic, maybe a little bit more cooling in the central Atlantic, a little bit more warmth perhaps further south. And I'll come to the reason why I say that in just a second. Some of you will probably understand already what I'm talking about here. Looking at we'll talk about December in just a wee second as well. I told you it was a mismatch of a video this morning. August, this is the CFSV2, a trough over northwestern Europe here, so that represents a below average month of August for a large swathe of the continent. In fact, certainly extending from the region that has been so torrid this summer so far. Of course, we have now got a considerable break in the heat, and it looks as if that's going to continue. But certainly up across Scandinavia, it's been a torrid summer up here, especially with lack of air conditioning. Down across the central portion of Europe here, where it's been quite a mixed summer, hot spells, rainstorms. We've had unusually cool days as well. We're going to see probably below average here. The UK, it's been a warmer than normal summer. June, July has been warmer than normal. So it's going to be interesting to see how we can start to kind of balance things out with a cooler than normal August. Very chilly across France, June and July for France. It wouldn't surprise me, in fact, if this is one of the coldest summers in perhaps a couple of decades. And a mixed summer across Iberia, really, and also mixed across the central portion of southern Europe also here. Very hot, basically Scandinavia, northwestern Russia, through the Baltic states, and it's been kind of mixed as you go towards the southeast of the continent overall. So looking at this is what I'm wanting to have a look at here, folks. In terms of the winter, I'm going to start to look at things more as we go forward here, but there's several indices that we look at in terms of indicators for a potential type of pattern that we see during the winter season in even the UK. Indian Ocean Dipole here. Now, when we had that record-breaking hot, sorry, I beg your pardon, we had that record-breaking, I suppose you could say hot in some places versus the average, warm 2019-2020 winter across the northern hemisphere. The autumn had an astronomically positive Indian Ocean Dipole here. You notice at the moment we've got almost the opposite. We've got a very, very negative IOD here. So it's pretty much polar opposite, if you notice. And also you notice since it's came off this peak back in the, what would that be, the end, autumn 2019 really. Since that, there has been a significant decline in the IOD here. So that is an interesting indicator, because a negative IOD, especially in the autumn season, can be a positive when it comes to a colder winter for Europe here. So that's number one. Number two, another aspect that we'll want to look at is even the Arctic sea ice here. It's not off the scale in terms of record low. In fact, there's still a few years where it's been lower at this point in time. So you don't want to have a completely blown out of the water record low Arctic sea ice. And the reason why I say that is because, of course, less Arctic sea ice can correlate to more strong blocking over the high latitudes during the winter season. You also want to have enough ice in terms of building the reservoir of cold over the Arctic region here. So if you have a kind of mid-pack level of Arctic sea ice extent, especially as we go towards the September period when you hit the minimum, you want to have a middle ground here. You want to have enough sea ice that you can generate a decent reservoir of cold air come the early portion of the winter season here. So I think that is a slight positive indicator, actually. And then this here could be a big deal. We're heading towards an easterly QBO. So these are the upper level winds, say at 45,000 feet, that circle the equatorial atmosphere. So above the equator, you've got a belt of winds that generally go from west to east. At the moment, where you typically get a reversal during the summertime, but in recent winters we've had a westerly QBO, quasi-biennial oscillation, and what that does is it typically helps to enhance the polar jet stream further north here. When you get an easterly QBO, so the winds are reversed, blowing from east to west over the equatorial region, that can lead to a weaker polar jet, the westerlies, over the mid-latitude region of the northern hemisphere. And it looks as if, for the first time in a few years, we're going to have that easterly QBO at the key time of the year in the winter season. So it looks as if we've got a positive with regards to the QBO, the IOD, the Arctic sea ice extent. And what does the CFSV2 for the month of December look like? And I'll get to also the fact that the solar cycle has peaked in the minimum state, and typically a year or two after the peak of the minimum, you can correlate to a colder winter. Certainly 2008 was seen the solar minimum, and of course 2009-10 was a record-breaking cold winter, the coldest winter in the British Isles since 78-79. Folks, this is the CFSV2 for December, and has a strong blocking over the North Atlantic, extending up in the Greenland and the Arctic region here. This here, folks, would be a fairly cold signal if this was to materialize. So the solar cycle has come off its peak of minimum. We are starting to see an increase in sunspot activity, but there is, as is often the case with both the ocean and the atmosphere, there is a lag of a couple of years. And I'm a great believer, if the sunspot activity, if the solar cycle is anything to go by with regards to temperature on Earth, and it has merit, this would be the winter that you should probably get a repeat of 09-10. I'm being slightly cautious in saying that, but the 2020-2021 winter should deliver, if the solar cycle has merit, it should deliver a colder winter this upcoming year. And it's interesting how the CFSV2 indicates that kind of North Atlantic block here. So, of course, sea surface temperature anomalies, you want to see warm, cold, warm, a North Atlantic tripole, which tends to enhance blocking over the North Atlantic and Greenland here. So You know, there's a couple of indicators as it stands at the moment, very, very early. We're still in the middle of the summer, of course, but as it stands, there is about 2 or 3 key components that you look at for a cold winter that is indicating a positive with regards to a cold winter for the northwestern portion of Europe here. So I thought in today's video I would have a quick look at a couple of the factors that we'll look at in a global sense, and discuss them here just to whet your appetite. If you're a wee bit tired of the kind of warm, humid, sticky air, you're looking forward to winter, well, this gives you a little taster. So hope you have a great Wednesday. If you do and like this video, please hit the like button, and also subscribe to the channel for more regular updates. Hope you have a great day. Back in the next couple of days with more. Bye for now.